Welcome to the Firm Optimist conversation. I'm Micheline Corr, and today I've invited the man behind the camera to be my guest. Greg Manahan of D4 Films is well known for his production work on award ceremonies and conferences in the hospitality industry. But what a lot of people don't know is that his main business is film, television and video production. Today we're going to talk about video as a communications and marketing tool and what it can achieve across all platforms, especially when we are apart from our clients. Hi Greg.
Morning Micheline, or good afternoon as it is now. Yep. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How have you been in lockdown?
Yeah, lockdown has been an interesting experience for me because I tried to keep busy, and what I did was that, there was a trickle of work through. I did some work in operation transformation. I had some edit jobs that some of my clients came along, but on top of that, I got very involved in a very interesting project with Barretts Time, and what happened there was that they reached out after the work that we'd done with them on Christmas FM. I did the live streaming on video across all their social media platforms on both the radio station and Barretts Time for donation days. We did 12 hours continuous live broadcasting to raise money, and they raised 210,000 or 214,000 euro on donation day, which is an incredible feat. But what happened was, because of COVID-19, Barretts Town weren't able to open up, so their whole raison d'etre came into question. And Dee and Tim and the amazing people in Barretts Town came up with the idea, well, if we can't bring the kids to Barretts Town, can we bring Barretts Town to the kids? So they reached out to ourselves and also to Bill Dowling, who's a great guy in Courtyard Studios as well, and they provided a lot of kit. We did all the streaming services and provided some kit. And Rob O'Dowd from Euro Events was very generous in putting in all the pipe and drape, and a couple of other people as well did branding and stuff like that. So we effectively built 2 TV studios in Barretts Town for them, and they went live every Saturday on a private server so that only the families who were supposed to be attending camp could actually enjoy camp at home. And Barretts Town sent out all the kits and everything that they needed to actually partake. It was an amazing thing to get involved with, and they're still running live on Facebook Live for anybody, for kids who are bored after doing their schoolwork at home. Barretts Town then in the afternoons, Tuesdays to Thursdays, do a live thing on Facebook Live. And then towards the latter end, so that kind of established itself and got up, it's up and going, and it's still there, thank God. And towards the latter end of that, of COVID, like where we are now, the guys from Good Grub got in touch with my business partner, Peter Manahan, who's a producer, and they just started talking about, like, we need to tell our story, and I'm all about storytelling, to people to try and get more money. And what Good Grub are doing is, it's for the kids who would normally attend dash schools, who would get, a dinner, a good, wholesome, healthy dinner at school, are now at home, so they don't have access to that service. So what Good Grub is doing now is, it's with all of the volunteers and people who've donated food and stuff like that, and funds to pay for food and services. They've actually got up to 20,000 tons of food every week. Sorry, I think it's 20 tons of food, every week is now going out to the dash schools, and the dash schools themselves are now distributing all of that to the families that need that food, which is an incredible thing. So we got involved with that, and we shot a video last week, and I just literally went live last night. So if you have a look around Good Grub social media, you'll see a new video out there, and that's something that I finished cutting yesterday afternoon for them, and it's gone live straight away. So I'm very, very happy and proud. So as I said, we've been keeping ourselves busy, and certainly I've been doing that kind of stuff. So I don't like the earth not to move under my feet when I'm in lockdown. So
Great. I saw actually that video last night. Well done, Dennis and the team at Good Grub. I'd previously talked to Ross Lewis, and he's got a gorgeous piece up there, cooking with his daughter Shayna. So there's a lot to see on the Good Grub website, and a brilliant initiative by the guys. I also noticed your drone work on Operation Transformation. This was filmed in the early weeks of lockdown, and I must say I found it very moving to see the streets and landmarks that I know so well, so eerily quiet. Let's show some of this now, and keep an eye out for the Mansion House, the Shelburne and Sandymount Strand.
Okay. So you'll see here, sorry, that's a piece of advertising for myself.
That's okay,
there.
Greg.
But you will see that on this particular project, the Philip Camp and the guys in VIP who produce Operation Transformation were doing something slightly different to what they would normally do. This isn't about healthy living or weight loss. This was more of the kind of the mental health issues that you are trying to deal with in lockdown during COVID-19. And it was looking at a different spread of people across all kind of circumstances and socioeconomics and whatever, and demographics, and basically to see how they were coping. And as part of that, they commissioned me to shoot these aerial shots around mostly Dublin City, and then focusing on the Mansion House, because the Mansion House, the roundabout of the Mansion House, became the TV studio. It was the epicenter for Operation Transformation, Keeping Well Apart, as the show was called. And you can see it there, the shots. But we also did aerial shots over South Dublin, which you'll see there. And we also went down to Portlaoise as well. You'll see here around the Rock of Dunamaze and on the motorway there, basically to show an Ireland that just, you know, with streets empty. You can see the empty motorway there, you know, one car going down there. Normally there'd be a stream of trucks and things like that. And yeah, so it was a very, very interesting project to work on, because, you know, it's not often that we see, you know, the capital city of a country that's quite empty like that. It was quite stark. And it was amazing to be able to get out there and capture that. But at the same time, there was something very disconcerting about it as well. So
I can only imagine. You also made a short film
Yes.
called Cherry Blossom, which was picked up by RTE Ireland on Call programme some weeks ago. And I'm also going to show this now, if you don't mind. Tell me, Greg, what was on your mind when you made this absolutely gorgeous tribute to the Cherry Blossom?
Yeah, so you can see it coming up on the screens there. Cherry Blossom was was something when I was going out walking while we were supposed to be social distancing, and it just reminded me of the time of year. I remember always as a young boy that, you know, when you saw the cherry blossoms coming out after the Easter holidays, you knew you were on a short run into the summer holidays, and it was that heralding of spring. And after working on OT and having the kind of the scary bits of the streets, you know, with all those scenes of empty streets, and, you know, there was a kind of an Armageddon feel about it, you know, I just thought, well, you know, nature is still going on, and, you know, life has to go on. And, you know, it was to, you know, show that, but also more the fact that the hope that that part of spring gives coming into the summer, that burst, that heralding of spring through the cherry blossom when you see it. And what I wanted to do was give that as a kind of a sense of hope, of a sense of healing. And I put a dedication at it at the end, was, you know, which you'll see when you watch the video, which is, you know, that it's dedicated to obviously the selflessness of the frontline workers, but also to those who mourn, to those who are afraid, those who are sick, and anybody who is suffering, to offer them the hope and the rebirth that spring offers, both into their homes and into their hearts. And that's the dedication that's at the end of the video, and that's why I made it, was to do that, was to give that, you know, like it really is okay, you know. Nature has thrown up this COVID-19 thing, but also nature has a lot of other very, very nice stuff out there, and get out and appreciate it. And it's all around us, you know. We're coming into summer now, and it's amazing, it's beautiful, you know. So
An encouraging thing about that, I think, as well, is you made that on a small camera. Is that right?
yeah,
Anybody
I mean,
can do this.
Yeah, the camera I used is, you know, I wanted to democratize it, to basically sort of say that anybody could do this. I actually shot it on a Sony CyberShot camera, I think on an RX100 Mark IV. But like, this is literally a pocket camera, and you can see the dedication on the screen there now. So, you know, what I wanted to show is that anybody could go out with, you know, a decent mobile phone or a pocket camera, something that you bring on holidays with you, and actually shoot something that's really, really nice. And to also help people just to observe what's actually going on around them out there, which is, you know, really, really important, you know. So, yeah.
And speaking of cameras and filming and the like, I absolutely never thought that the firm would have its very own YouTube channel. But it's proving an absolutely brilliant way to keep our business visible. And each Thursday, my kitchen table turns into a studio for a live broadcast. And I've had many guests already. And back at the start of this, Greg, I started to talk to you. I had a plan that I would make just a couple of hints and tips videos, you know, about how to do a great Zoom call, how to video interview. But then we started to talk about live discussions, and after those scary 2 camera pieces with you on my own, it's been joyful to have other people join the conversation. How do you think it's going?
I thought it was a great idea because we were discussing this kind of stuff, you remember, even before COVID, you know, about creating it. And this is, like, I suppose, the lesson, the takeout from all of this for anybody that's watching this, is that we wanted to create a conversation between the firm and the hospitality and tourism industry. We want to be able to turn around and sort of say that we are a player in the industry, that the firm is a player in the industry, and to get a small company of a handful of people to really punch above its weight in terms of being able to communicate and to be able to say, like, we are knowledgeable. We're not just people who are just going to pull Billy from one place to Jack over there and that's it and take a commission. Is that we actually know about the industry, that we know about the type of candidates, you know, why they would work in a particular place. And we want so that people watching this could understand that we understand the business. When I say we, I mean the firm. The other thing that we had to be very careful of is that it wasn't a big sales message. It isn't about rah rah rah. The firm is great, and we're going to talk about recruitment. In fact, and down to yourself actually in the way you've actually managed the content of these live discussions. It's been very much a focus on dealing with the issues facing the industry and not about selling recruitment. It's about, the topics that are current. And it's, for me, it was really important that there was integrity in this, that the discussions were honest, and the informality of discussions is great because it's put the people who participated very much at ease, and they were able to actually come out and talk from their heart about the things that they're facing and their hopes and their desires and the possible solutions. And that kind of integrity and honesty was very, very important to this. And I think that's probably the key point here, is that type of honesty and integrity.
I was listening to a webinar yesterday, and Des Mahan was talking about the need that we serve and not sell to our customers at the moment. So I hold that very dear, and I'm really grateful to the contributors, because the conversations that we have are weekly and the landscape is changing daily. So it's always got great currency, I think. In preparing for some of those conversations, Greg, with industry people like Richard Corrigan, and I had a great conversation with Ed Cooney from the Marion and Philippe Varniot from Ashford Castle. But you really helped me to move away from, I suppose, my comfort zone, where I would be quite questioning in the written word, and to move away to the spoken word, which I found a good difference and a bit of a change. But what's your advice in delivering convincing messages through video?
Okay, this is quite a broad area, and I think you've started off in a good place there. I learned under some of the best people in the business, the legendary John Skehan in RTE, and Aidan O'Hara, who went on to 98 FM, I think, afterwards. But these guys, I trained with them years ago in radio presentation. And to be honest, when you're delivering content in a kind of in business type formats, that aren't drama or comedy or whatever, I was always told by these guys, you're always speaking to an audience of one. That makes it much more personal and engaging. And the other thing is writing for speech. And the thing about it is, we spend whatever, it's 12 years at school learning how to write for writing. but you don't speak the way you write. And, you know, Aaron Sorkin, who wrote The West Wing and Newsroom and, you know, many other award-winning films, he says things like, you know, people don't start sentences with words like whilst or meanwhile. So, you know, you get, you know, when you are scripting something, and you should script things before you go out on air, or when you're doing something, which you do, which is very good. But you put it into the vernacular in which you speak. You need to speak in your own voice, not just in your own language, but in your own voice. And it's very important that because you sound much more genuine, personal and engaging. And that way people feel like you're actually conversing with them, as opposed to somebody reading something that is just a body of business speak or prose, and it looks really insincere. You don't sound like you're trying to engage anybody. It's and it can also be quite, you know, like propaganda as well. But it's you just disengage the viewer when you start doing things like that. So from a presentation style, I would always say to people, you're always addressing an audience of one. It's me and you. You might look at your stats and you might have, you know, 10,000 people, God willing, watching your video stream, or you might have a dozen. It doesn't matter. But the fact is that when you're looking down the camera lens, you were only ever speaking to that one person, make them feel engaged. You all hear stories about, you know, characters like, you know, particularly politicians, people like Bill Clinton, JFK, Barack Obama. They've all had one thing that people always say: I felt like I was the only person in the room. That's the way you should always try and address people when you're talking to them on a video stream, so that it becomes a one-to-one conversation, regardless of how many people are actually watching. And as I said, speak in your own voice. Speak the way you would normally speak. And you have to think about it, you know, because even though when you are speaking in your vernacular, if you actually try to write down the way you speak and then read it back, it looks really strange. But because, you know, we don't speak in long sentences. People just don't. You know, we speak in, you know, 5-10 word sentences, and that's it. We also use a lot of vernacular. You know, sometimes we drop words. Our grammar wouldn't necessarily be 100%, and that's all okay. You know, to come on with somebody saying, you know, with perfect English in prose, it might sound beautiful, you know, but or look beautiful in text. But when you hear somebody speaking it, you're kind of going like if somebody walked up to you in the street and started talking like that, you would probably think they're either having a stroke or they're just being really weird. So you'd run away from them, or you'd get help for them. But certainly you would need to really think about what you're saying, how you say it, do it in your own voice. Yep.
And come back to video. Video is such a big part of social media, and it seems to me that many hotels and operators are putting out a huge amount of content of varying quality, and I'm not always sure what the message is. What have you observed out there in terms of video on social media, particularly in relation to hotels?
Yeah, the hospitality sector is, you know, it's a very colourful sector. It's a very colourful, you know, hotels and tourism attractions, restaurants, they are colourful places. That doesn't necessarily often get across. One of the things that you really have to watch out for is, you know, understanding the brand. And what is a brand? The brand is how your guest, your customer, perceives you. So it's all those different touch points that engage with your guest emotionally, and it's a brand is a very emotional thing. So you need to be very careful. I think what's happened with COVID-19 is that people have gone into a kind of a panic mode, and they've kind of gone like, I need to get stuff out there. I need to stay relevant. So people will always be seeing that we're still here, even though we're closed till the 20th of July. And, you know, there's a big panic. And what's happening is that there's been a lot of very, very interesting, let's say, content out there that not necessarily would help your brand. I've seen people cycling bicycles through 5-star hotels. I've seen people bringing livestock into their hotels. probably not the best message to put out in a pandemic, you know, in terms of sanitizing and cleaning and stuff like that. So, you know, you need to be very careful. Don't be desperate. I think the important thing with video, like any type of marketing communication, is you need to have a reason for doing it in the first place. So you need to know, like, you have to have a mission objective. You need to have a brief. You need to know, okay, we're going to make a video, but not for the sake of doing a video. It has to work for you. You need to know, well, what is my objective? What am I trying to achieve here? And does video, within the capability that we have, actually achieve that? Now, is it something that I can do on my mobile phone? Perhaps if it's a charitable thing, you know, that looks great on a mobile phone because it's kind of rough and ready, and that does help, and that can help a brand in you know, even 5-star brands, if you see people interacting in a particular way, say on a charity thing. But if you're trying to get a really core brand message to the core of your business, then you have to be very, very careful about what kind of messaging you're trying to get out there. So what I would say is, before you consider doing video, and I think video is really, really potent because it shows the color of your business, but more importantly, it shows a reality, a realistic perception of your business that other media can't. So, you know, really nice photographs, and I'm not dissing photographs because they're very important as well, and for brochuring and stuff like that, and integrating in parts of your overall communication. But in terms of your main thrust of how people perceive and understand the look and feel, the emotional connection with your property, whether it's a hotel, restaurant, or visitor attraction, there, you know, video can really convey that across. But just make sure you know what you're trying to achieve with it, and that it actually does fit in with your brand values. And when I say brand values, it's those touch points that you want people to believe about your business.
So no video for the sake of video, Greg, is that your message?
Yeah, think about it. It has to work for you. You need to know, you know, what you're trying to achieve. I mean, you have business objectives, so let video be, you know, the workhorse for delivering your business objectives. It's a very top line thing, you know. It's, you know, it's very easy to talk about. I know that there's probably general managers and revenue managers going like, oh God, here we go. What they're trying to do is stop money hemorrhaging out of the business. But at some point, you're going to have to look at your business and sort of say, well, okay, I opened the doors on the 20th of July, but who's going to come to my business? And how do I attract them to my business? So this is where video can be very, very important. But you need to think how it's, you know, very, very seriously, and consider very seriously how I'm going to bring that business back in. And I think what you need to look at is different types of, because of post-COVID, the attributes you need to bring to your brand have changed. So,
as you said earlier, I do my research preparing for these conversations, and I happened to see that you had a 10-year career in advertising and marketing before coming into the audiovisual area. And you mentioned those new brand attributes. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, like, this is very much, you know, we get into the post-COVID era. Before, you know, we were looking at, you know, location, we were looking at, you know, how well appointed a place was. And thankfully, a lot of marketers involved in hotels have got into the idea that, and to be fair, the estate agencies have worked very hard at this as well, in Fáilte Ireland, and Tourism Ireland, and Tourism in Northern Ireland. They've all got into the idea that tourism isn't just about booking seats and beds, that it is an experiential thing. So, and, you know, the marketing of that is very important. The issues we have going forward with COVID is that, you know, we've heard people saying, both Michael Rosney and the Brennans have said, we need to take the hospital out of hospitality in the current era, which I think is great. You know, I think, you know, we need to reassure, and that brand reassurance is now, or reassurance is now a new brand attribute. You know, am I going to catch something if I stay in your hotel? As horrible as that sounds, that is what people are considering. And it doesn't matter. And we have the 1 meter, 2 meter argument going on at the moment, you know, and I know some of the business associations have been very vocal about this in the last couple of weeks. But, you know, who are the people at home going to listen to? Are they going to listen to a very good business case? Are they going to listen to the chief medical officer who's saying, you know, no, we want to maintain 2 meters? So, you know, again, once the door is open, you know, how do I actually convince my potential guest or my reoccurring guest that you can come back to my hotel and you're going to not bring something back that you didn't want other than nice memories, and B, how do I actually generate an experience that, taking all of this sanitization and, you know, minimalizing stuff in people's rooms and new standard operating procedures for going into the restaurant and ordering food and social distancing, all those things that have to be considered when opening dining rooms and everything else that's attached to this sector, is how do I actually transmit that in a way that is change the challenge into a promise, or change the problem, if you like, into a challenge that we can take on and make it an opportunity to talk to our guests and say, look, it really is okay to come here. And yes, it's different, but hey, you know, we're going to add value. So the other thing there is, I would, in terms of brand attributes, is I think we need to look at a broader than our front doors in the product marketing of hotels and restaurants, things like that. We need to get into a more resort mentality, I think. We need to get more collaborative of what's happening on the main street of a village or town, as opposed to one restaurant competing with another one down the street, or in one hotel competing with another. Killarney and Westport have always been brilliant at this, and I think every street, main street and village in Ireland needs to start thinking about this. Is, you know, can we do something like, you know, Dublin 8 as a hospitality district as well? There's so many fantastic things going on there. You know, what other districts in Cork, Limerick, Galway can we develop like that as well? And then put that together as an added value marketing message that we can transmit through video as well, because video shows the reality of that. It engages the customer in a very, very compelling way. Bottom line, you need to have a good story to tell. We are the best storytellers in the world. We need to be able to put that down in a way in video so that we can emotionally engage the guest to become part of that story, or to say, I want to be part of that story. And that's really, really important. So I would say, if you want video to work for you, the new brand attributes have to have some kind of convincing message about safety and about sanitization, but at the same time, you need to reinforce your own messages about hospitality. You need to add value by collaborating with other people on your main street. And I think at the end of the day, what you need to do then is script that up into a narrative that will actually has a flow in it, and that will emotionally engage with your guest.
I think at the moment, when I'm considering, you know, the end of the summer and a trip out of my 5 kilometres or 20 kilometres at that point, I want to see the National Park in Killarney. I certainly would like to walk by rivers and be out in open spaces. I mean, is that something that hotels should be filming now and communicating to me as I make those choices? Do you think the outdoors is the new luxury?
I think so. I think it has a huge part to play. It wouldn't be exhaustively that, but I think it certainly would be a great thing. I mean, we've done it in a lot of our clients' videos. I mean, I have worked with a number of properties in the Kerry area. I mean, when I started making hospitality videos, I used Michael Rosney's and Geraldine Rosney's Killeen House Hotel and Rosner's Restaurant as my guinea pig for this type of thing. But a huge part of that was showing the whole environs and the activities that you can do. They were, you know, very, very targeting the US golf market, but they also wanted to show kayaking and stuff like that. So we went out with one of the local providers out there and we shot people doing rock climbing, and we shot the Gap of Dunlow, the mountains, the lakes, all that kind of stuff as well. And I think it's very important from a social distancing point of view, that the more remote you can go in the Ivora Peninsula or the Dingle Peninsula or down by Guggenbarra or wherever these places are, or anywhere in the uplands of Ireland, because it's far more than Kerry. And, I love Kerry myself and I can't wait to get back down there. But why not go up to the Galtee Mountains in the Midlands there, or, Wheelwray and Connemara, there's some amazing places that you can go hill walking and whatever. But yeah, I mean, use the environment that you're in to sort of say, okay, things are slightly different, but if you get out more and there's so much more to see where we are than you may not have already known. And again, the cityscapes are very important. Dublin City has 2 canals, which are effectively parkways that go from the River Liffey to the River Shannon. And you can walk and cycle the entire length of them. Plus there's south side, you've got walkways along the Dodder, you've got on the north side, you've got Tolka, you've got, and then you've got all of our big parks like, Phoenix Park, Marley Park, whatever. So there's a huge amount of this stuff that's out there. And what I would suggest is that people in the hospitality business engage with the OPW, engage with their local councils to sort of say, look, we need to start generating content. I also think Fáilte Ireland has a huge part to play here, and Tourism Ireland. They do have a content pool, but it seems to be, and I've had this conversation with Paul Kelly.
I'm sure you have,
I'm not
Greg.
talking out of school here. That we have a kind of a user-made content base that they have. The problem with it is that it's not the best quality, and I think what we should be doing is working with the local councils and local, because they all have tourism bodies as well, is to engage with local suppliers. I'm not just sort of saying give all the jobs to me. I won't say no to most of them, but there are really good, talented photographers, videographers, drone operators all around the country, and it's an opportunity to give them a bit of work here as well, to get out, shoot this stuff, make a pool that everybody can draw down from and get their marketing messages across.
Great idea. Back to where we are right now. I don't know about you, but I'm watching a lot of content on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, YouTube Live, and there seems to be a huge disparity in terms of the quality of pictures and sound. What advice have you got so that we can do better video calls, better webinars?
Yeah, I think this goes to video content in general. With anything, whether it's cooking, whether it's whatever, the most fundamental thing that you can do is get the basics right. The problem is with videography and photography is that an awful lot of people don't know what the good basics are. And there's tons of stuff out there, free to wear on YouTube and wherever else, to actually show you how to do things properly. There's a number of different things that I would say that would help you, and depends on how much of this stuff you're doing, because I think some people will sort of say, well, after COVID, when we get back to the day job, I won't be doing so much of this anymore. Other people are going to be, and I think a lot more people who are going to be working from home, for instance, they're going to be in a situation where, and other people who want to keep the engagement going with their stakeholders and their customer base, even in the hospitality industry, are going to be using a lot more of this stuff. So what I would say to people like that is get the basics right. And they are things like, think about your composition. We have a thing in cinematography called the rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds is basically that your key person or object that you're shooting, your focus should be on, the thirds on your screen, either this line here, or these two lines here. So, yeah. So basically, you need to look at, where's the, so if you look at the picture of me now, my eyes are in the upper third, and that's where they should be. If I was interviewing somebody or being interviewed, I'd actually move over to this third here, but I'd look into that way there. But my, where I'm actually sitting is on that third. So that's where you should keep your, somebody's face, particularly their eye line. People look at people's eyes, not their mouth, they look at their eyes. So not have too much headroom above here, not too little. There's so many videos you see where people's heads are...
That's really bad.
So, I know. So you have a little head down in the corner here. The other thing as well is the actual camera positioning. So if you look at where the camera is, that camera is actually slightly below my eye level, and the same with the one on you, Micheline, there. Mm-hmm. So, and if you look at your eyes are also on the upper third there as well. That's done very, very deliberately. The eye line is slightly, with the camera slightly below the eye line, because that gives you, you can see your face much better. It means I'm looking straight at you-ish. But going slightly below, I mean very, very slightly low, gives you that impression of a bit more authority. It's one of the things, the tricks of the trade. If you want somebody to look puny and weak, you put the camera above their eye line. But we don't want to do that here. Handy to know that when you're putting the boss on a Zoom call, that's what you don't know. But anyway, then there's things like so I know what Micheline does when she's doing a Zoom call. You actually put your laptop on a pile of books.
I do.
Yeah. And that works really well.
It does. I learned from the best.
So like that's you know that's a really important kind of lesson to do that. So just that basic composition is really important. The next thing is lighting. There's so many Zoom calls that I've gone on in the last couple of weeks where people have had a window behind them, and what happens there is that there's three things in that, you know, kind of rule 101 in TV that you need to be careful of. The eye is drawn into the sharpest focused object on screen. So always make sure that your subject, we always focus on the eyes, again, is the sharpest thing in focus, because that's where the eyes are. The brightest thing on screen is also the thing that draws people's eyes, and movement. So if you've got somebody, if I had somebody dancing or jigging in the background behind me here, or there was a dog or something sniffing around, your eyes would be drawn to that and away from what I'm doing. So all of a sudden you've lost engagement there. But with lighting, we've seen so many times in Zoom calls where people have a big window behind them and they're completely silhouetted out. You can't actually see what their face or anything like that. You can't have a conversation with somebody if you can't see their face. So make sure that the light source is in front of you and behind the camera, and that way you'll, you know, you can actually, believe it or not, I actually have a light just there, which is lighting me up. You also have a big light in front
I
of
certainly
you there, you know, so it's, even though it doesn't look like that, but that's exactly what's going on here, and you know, that's how you can see us properly. But just think about it. You don't have to go out and buy, you know, all this kit. But what I would say is, you know, to get the basics right, make sure you're composed right. Make sure that you have a light source that's in front of you and not behind you. Two other things I'm going to mention are sound. Sound is a big issue with a lot of these Zoom calls. The built-in microphones on laptops are not good. They're condenser microphones. They're not particularly good quality. They pick up everything in the room, and the problem with it is that we hear in a lot of Zoom conversations is you're hearing more of the room than the person, and you're hearing all this kind of reflection and you know, bouncy noises and stuff, and it's very, very hard. People are kind of saying, why can't I actually hear this person speaking? And it's because you're hearing more of the room. The signal to noise ratio is wrong. The signal to noise, signal is the sound we want, noise is the noise we don't want. The signal to noise ratio is wrong with those things. So what I would recommend is, if you're going to do this stuff a lot, you can buy very cheap microphones that you can either plug into your mobile phone or USB into your laptop. I mean, I've one that I record voiceovers on back in my office, and it costs €150, and it's fantastic. You know, you can buy like the little microphone that you have there. You can see pinned to the other side of your.
Oh, this way.
That little black thing there. That's what we call a lavalier. You know, anybody who's done a conference has probably worn something similar to that. You can buy them that can again plug directly by USB into your laptop, or they can go into your mobile phone. These, what they do is they give you a much better signal to noise ratio, and it means that you're getting much better audio quality there. And I would suggest also, get a webcam of some kind. I noticed that Michael Vaughan, who's doing a lot of stuff for the IHF at the moment from his what he calls his COVID bunker over in Lahinch, he's using some kind of a camera that's not earbud, and it's great because he's getting a nice shallow depth of field behind him, and it looks nice. So you would get much better quality pictures by not using your laptop camera. You can buy webcams that are pretty good quality. Again, USB into your laptop. They're automatically detected by Zoom and all of these other things and programs, that you're using, these applications. And you're just getting that little bit better quality. Buy a little tripod or something that'll even clip onto the top of your laptop so that it gets the right height. And I think you've got a very, very good tip when you're, Micheline, is that you have on your laptop, you put a little arrow.
Oh yes, my sticker.
A little sticker with an arrow on it, where the camera is on the laptop.
Yeah.
So when you're talking, you're actually talking into the camera, which is fantastic. So they're just some little hits. But what I'd say to you is that even get most Canon cameras. So if you take a Canon camera on your holidays, they have a HDMI out of their cameras that will actually plug into your laptop. That is seen by Zoom and a number of other programs as a webcam. So you might only have to just buy one cable if you've thrown it out, because a lot of people see spare cables and they buy a camera and go, I don't need that. But you can pick up those cables in your, and you can pick up any of this gear either online or in the likes of Curry's or Harvey Norman's or wherever, your local electrical retailer on the main street or wherever you are will probably have this kind of gear. It's very, very common. So I'd say for a minimal of investment of maybe a couple of €100, you can actually transform how you look and your delivery of your content on live streaming software. So I'd say go for it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to have better sound on my Zoom. I'm using it a lot to interview people at the moment, and a better sound is certainly something I'm after. I think you've answered this question, Greg, but Paul Murphy from Avcom has been in touch. Thanks very much, Paul. And he's asking about, Zoom fatigue setting in and what needs to be done to make our videos more engaging, fresh, and work harder for you. I think we've pretty much covered that, but is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, it's funny. I discussed this with Paul. Paul, he's doing a great job. They're Avcom, if you haven't come across them, are a huge AV company. I worked there over a decade ago, and we still have a very good relationship. And what they've been doing in their offices, they certainly haven't been quiet, is they've actually been building sets using their LED assets. They've been using green screen assets and stuff like that, and trying and testing different things for content delivery for corporates and for anybody and the message is out there is that collaborate with people like the big AV companies who are dealing with this stuff, because what they're going to do for your guests is give you solutions that you probably don't already have. Because, let's put it this way, the conference and event market is not going to come back anytime soon. However, we are looking at hybrid solutions where we can use, moderately sized meeting rooms and turn them into TV studios. And then using virtual set technology, we actually have little radar systems that when the camera moves, the whole set moves along with the person that you're actually shooting against a green screen, but the set doesn't exist. It's actually a virtual creation. It's something that's come out of the TV industry, and we've actually been experimenting with this. I know Avcom have been doing similar stuff with their LED assets, and they've been creating hybrids between physical set structures. They have this atomic system that they have, and other ones, and they so from a content delivery, what they're doing there is they're putting more strings to the bow, so that it's not just a person sitting on a sofa at home. All of a sudden, it's a person sitting in a branded studio, even though it's a virtual studio. And also the fact that you can now integrate other assets into that. So that can be PowerPoint presentations, video playback, but more importantly, you can also put in things like chat, live chat. You can put in polling, which is really, really important. So all of a sudden now you can engage a bigger audience. The other thing as well is that you can do, it's kind of like what we do at Barretts Time. You'll be able to create a very selective audience. So if you only want to speak to an internal audience in a big organization that's across the world, so you want to do a private town hall, but you want interaction into it, you can do all that. You could go into, your local hotel here in Ireland. You can bring your leadership team in with a green room. You can sit them down. They can have their F&B and all the stuff that they expect in a hotel, which they're not going to get in a home-built studio. But at the same time, they can then get out and engage with their global audience and bring in all sorts of interactive assets there to keep the message alive and keep people engaged. Yeah.
And talking about doing that in conjunction with a hotel partner, we've heard from Monica O'Byrne from Clayton Burlington Road. She was in touch to tell us two things. First of all, she's conducting 360-degree virtual tours as clients can't come into the hotel for site inspections. And also looking at building the studio at Burlington Road, which seems to be exactly what you're discussing there, Greg. Another comment in from Richard Phelan. Hi, Richard, of Dynamic Events. He's contacted us to say that he's doing custom-made events for remote workers on a global scale, and he's done virtual site inspections for TIFCO and their new Hard Rock hotel. So lots of new things, Greg.
Yeah, well, I think this is again, this is where we have people who are applying the technology correctly. And Monica is I mean, Clayton Burlington Road is probably the premier conference venue in Ireland and has been for a very, very long time, because of where they are, the facilities they have. And I suppose one of the scary things for her and Sandra, the team there, is that they have such a big space with a lot of rooms that, what do we do with it? And by doing what they're talking about is, yes, we can bring in a safe, socially distant leadership team, bring them into a working environment that will really, really work for them, so they can deliver a large, conference to a global audience from there. And this is exactly what I was talking about. And I think Burlington Road is probably the ideal place for that. And what I would say to you there is that this is a very good case of where they've collaborated with Avcom, who are actually their in-house AV supplier. Avcom have an office in that property, as they do in many others. And what they do is they will actually work together to tailor that solution for whoever's coming in. But what they're going to do is they're going to leave that kit on site. So it's a walk-in solution, which is great. And what they're doing there, as I said, is they can bring all those other virtual AR, VR and engagement assets to play when they're in there. Richard has done some phenomenal work in Dynamic Events in the last number of weeks. They also did some work at Barretts Time there, but they're doing a lot of team building things. I mean, I was listening to the radio there earlier on about Pat Kenny was talking to some of his guests about, the psychology and the mental well-being of people, workers at home, and how companies can keep engaging with them. And I know this is something that you've been working with your own team, Micheline, but they were talking about how do we actually, the whole thing of the Zoom coffee on a Friday afternoon seems to be getting a bit tired or trite even at this stage.
Yes, a bit flat.
Whereas what Richard has brought is like he's brought in these games and things like that can be done over a Zoom type platform. They have their own bespoke way of doing it, and it's a great way of keeping everybody engaged. I know they're doing it for a lot of corporates as well, where they're getting people to interact on, in a very big way, bringing in games and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, but as I said, people in the hospitality business need to collaborate with the Richards, and they need to collaborate with the the AV guys, like Avcom and Cavs and Pearl and CT and the other big players that are out there, ABC are all over the country. There's loads of them. I don't want to leave anybody out. And yeah, so it's bring those people in because they have the real expertise in this area. And, if you collaborate with them, they could actually have uses for meeting rooms in your hotel that you may not have previously thought about. So there could be extra revenues there. You're not going to be seeing anything like the revenues you would have had in the past with your weddings and conferences and stuff like that. But at least you will get some kind of usage out of the rooms. The other thing as well with green screen technology, you don't even need to have a big meeting room. You can green screen one end of your room, put a virtual set in the side of a stadium, and it'll work for you. You know what I mean? Because the virtual set can be any size you want because it doesn't actually exist. Whereas all you need to do is just have somebody standing in the green environment and bang, there you go.
We saw some of your drone work earlier on. Is this a large aspect of your business? Do you have any advice about drone operations?
Yeah, I get asked about this a lot. I'm a member of the Unmanned Aircraft Association of Ireland. I actually do have a pilot's license for fixed-wing aircraft as well. I've been flying since 1997. So I've concern with both aspects of manned and unmanned aviation. And yeah, there's a couple of things there. And I said this at the IHF Weddings Conference last year as well. It's particularly around events like weddings and that, where we have exuberant photographers and videographers who are unlicensed and uninsured, who are operating drones in ways that would make your hair stand up. And it's very, very important that people realise in hotel properties and any other type of attraction that has, say, wedding photography, it's not just weddings, but any type of events at all, that the drone operator, you can actually stop them from taking off and landing because they need, by law, your permission to take off and land from your property. So that's one very key point. So, and a lot of people didn't realise that. The other thing as well is that if you want to make sure that, you're not going to bring any kind of controversy or any kind of public liability issues to your, that could crop up, that could affect you and perhaps your client if it's a corporate event, that you use people who are properly qualified, licensed and insured. And the IAA have a list of people on their website. If you are somebody, and a lot of people have bought drones themselves or bought them for their kids, and you're unsure about how and where to operate, again, the Irish Aviation Authority on their website have the kind of the do's and don'ts of uses of drones. But you should always get a drone registered, and you should do some kind of online training, whether it gets you to a full license or not, but at least it'll make you aware of the risks and the dangers and responsibilities that you have. And that way you can fly safely and not affect people, particularly the emergency services, the military, the Coast Guard and the guards. Sometimes they could be flying in your vicinity at very low level that you may not realise, and they are at risk, and the people below them, if you're flying a drone illegally, that at least if if you're in controlled airspace and if you're a licensed operator, you will have actually put a permission in, and air traffic control will know you're there when you're there. So we'll always try and encourage people to act responsibly and to do things the right way, and to go out and get the relevant qualifications, which is all going to change, by the way. This time, in 2 years' time, we've EU regs coming in, so a lot of that's going to be changed. So it's a little bit in flux at the moment. But
I think you're going to be very busy with that, Greg, as we look at showing off our hotel spaces, the remoteness of our properties. I can see a lot of work in that area for you.
Yeah, it's I hope so. That's all I can say.
We all have to reinvent ourselves somehow.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I mean, the commercial jobs that I had while I was during COVID, which actually, I had a letter from RTE saying that I was essential worker because I was working for Operation Transformation. So, the only paid work that came into the company while I was out, while we've been in lockdown, has been drone work. So
there you go.
So maybe the future is bright. It's up in the air. Yeah.
Before I let you go, I am just going to tap back into your marketing background and ask you this really difficult question. If you were a marketing director in a property, restaurant or hotel at the moment, what are the top 3 things that you would do in the next few weeks?
Okay, first thing is, I would say is, reassuring your guest is the big thing, but do it in a way that is brand relevant. So I spoke about brand attributes earlier on, and that we have new ones now about reassuring people. So that's really important. So you need to get out there and get that message that it's okay to come out of your home and to come, and that to make sure that you have actually taken all the procedures and all of the. I mean, it's incumbent. It does. I mean, it kind of goes without saying that your property is safe before you go out and tell people that it is safe. But you need to demonstrate that. So video is a great tool to do that, to actually show that yes, we are, cleaning, your rooms, that our F&B is done to HACCP on steroid standard to basically, make sure that food is safe. The next thing I would say is broadband. Make sure you've got proper broadband, I know that there's a big thing with rural broadband being rolled out, and that's for domestic broadband. There are commercial providers who can get really good broadband pretty much anywhere in this country. And I would suggest that it's really, really important that if you want to attract people into this virtual environment that we're talking about, hybrid usage of meeting rooms and conference and event spaces, that you have good broadband, really, really high speed, really, really stable broadband. I can't emphasize that enough. And then the next thing after that is, I would say is get some good video work done. Get out there and show people, that you are a hospitality organization. Bring in those emotional aspects that will actually bring people into you, that will actually sort of say, yeah, I want to be that person there. I've been touched by what I've seen there, and I want to be there. I want to be in that place. And I don't mind the slight inconveniences that I'm not used to, the fact that I might have to book a breakfast time, that it may have to be earlier than I perhaps would have liked, that I may not have as many accoutrements in my room that I had before, that like ordering F&B could be, but like outside of that, it's a case of, everybody's been locked up in their homes. People are going to go, will people actually come out? Damn right they will. I think that, come July 20th, I think people will be raring to go out to their homes. But at the same time, they're going to do it cautiously. So, those other messages I was saying need to be included there. But get out there and tell a good story. That's what's going to engage people. Tell a story that people will understand, that people will get emotionally involved with, and that people will actually bypass the OTA and contact your hotel or your restaurant directly.
A perfect message. A perfect message. Greg Manahan, thank you for coming on the camera today. You've just been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you to our viewers and contributors. I'm Micheline Corr from the firm Optimist. Bye for now.